If you were around back then, you probably remember how crazy October 2018 was. We got Super Gogeta, the very first step-up banner, and an update that completely redefined PvP. So let's take a look at all of that in today's Legends History episode. The month of October started with a Double Rates Master Packs 1 banner, which as far as I remember was only really worth it if you were a newer player. Like sure, most of the Sparkins on the banner were still decent, but with all of the free tickets they were given, and with how crazy the power creep was getting, you were honestly just better off saving your Chrono Crystals, and just using your tickets instead, unless you were like a well and looking for a specific Extreme Class character. As this was, I'm pretty sure, the banner with the best Extreme Class rates we had seen yet. I don't know how Legends is nowadays, but back then, Extreme Class characters were arguably harder to pull than Sparkin units, so this was actually a pretty decent banner. Like some of these Extreme Class units were actually pretty good. They then at the same time also dropped a new event where we could farm Z power of the green Extreme Android 18, as well as a bunch of new equipments for the female warrior / girls tag. The first gold equip wasn't bad, as it gave some decent defenses, especially against Saint tag units who were still part of the meta, but it was still kind of situational. The second gold equip was actually pretty good and clearly built for yellow Android 18, as it gave her base strike attack, base health and damage against red units. The equip was also very good on Blue Pan, who was actually starting to make a comeback as more and more hybrid Saint units were getting released. The next equip gave blast defense, special move damage and key restore speed. It was fine at the time, but not really like the craziest equip, since special move damage wasn't really the most important stat at the time. Like getting more strike or blast attack was way more important. And the last equip was probably the best one of the bunch. It was the first equip in the game that boosted Vanishing Gauge recovery speed up to 15%. On top of that, it had key restore speed and strike defense, which were huge in a meta dominated by strike based units. This equip was huge for Pan or Android 18, as it basically gave them the ability to fully restore their Vanishing Gauge during a combo, if you were sidestepping obviously, which as you would guess was just ridiculous. Then came the 10th Super Space Time Duel, which actually brought one of the biggest quality of life changes in early Legends. For the first time, players didn't need to reach the top 1000 to get rank rewards. Now anyone in the top 10,000 received full ranking rewards, which was huge for casual players and made PvP way more rewarding. That same season also added a new equipment for Piccolo units. It gave 20% blast attack, 15% strike attack and up to 25% extra damage against Android tag units. It was a great counter to Android 16, who was literally just the best tech in the game. But that new equipment was not the only thing we could farm for that new PvP season. The PvP adventures not only dropped Z power of the extremely yellow Piccolo, but also Z power for the Sparkin green Piccolo. The rates, as far as I remember, were pretty bad, but it was still pretty cool and made PvP a little bit more interesting. Like the dopamine you got from seeing those shiny Sparkin Z powers from your PvP adventures just made the PvP grind feel a little bit more worth it. The Piccolo Scout Battle also returned. It let players farm a couple hundred crystals if they cleared all of the missions with him. On top of that, Super Soul Trees were permanently added to the exchange shop, meaning you could upgrade units to 1500 anytime without waiting for event rotations, though it was obviously still smarter to farm them normally and save your rare medals for better items obviously. A week later, Legends dropped something completely new. The first step up banner in the game, and this one featured two brand new characters, Sparkin Hercule and Sparkin Demon King Piccolo. Now, the concept of a step up banner was completely new at the time, at least in Legends. Basically, instead of having a flat cost per multi, you were incentivized to keep summoning, since each step was different, with some of them even guaranteeing you a Sparkin unit, which was just something absolutely crazy for the time. And you even had a free multi-summon every 5 multis. In total, if you went through all 7 steps, it costed around 400 Chrono Crystals for 58 summons and 2 guaranteed Sparkin tickets. So essentially you got a discount of about 30% compared to regular banners, which was just so good. But even though the banner format was absolutely cracked, the featured units were just not that crazy. Sparkin Hercule was interesting to say the least. On paper he was a red type defensive unit, but that title was honestly misleading. He played more like a support type unit than anything else. Like bro, the guy was a tanky at all. His raw stats were abysmal, easily among the lowest of any sparking units at the time, even below some hero characters. But his kit was what made him stand out, because it was unlike anything the game had seen before. His main ability upped the cost of all the enemies' blast arts to 99 key for 15 timer counts, meaning your opponent could barely use blast attacks if at all. So if you were fighting someone who relied on blast heavy units, it could completely shut down their combos and force them to rely only on strike cards or to change characters. Then his green card destroyed both his and the enemy's hands. Used correctly, this could actually be pretty insane and could literally save you or an enemy's green or blue card combo. As for his blue card, who he held actually, I'm pretty sure this is the first unit in Legends history to hold a blue card, reduced all allies' substitution counts by 10, meaning that after landing a blue card, you could just switch in any allies you wanted. But what was really interesting about that guy was his unique abilities. The first one gave his team 20% damage and 30% key recovery every time he was hit below 30% HP, up until he was defeated. And his second unique ability gave him endurance, meaning the first time he died, he revived with 20% HP, which also made him able to tank a rising rush. Obviously the guy was extremely squishy, so you couldn't really make the best out of his first unique ability, but it was still pretty interesting. And his second unique ability was pretty good, as it basically let you tank anything in the game at least once. Like I said earlier, like you could literally tank a rising rush with it. As for Spark and Demon King Piccolo, he was a yellow melee type unit and easily one of the most creative characters Legends had released so far, because of the new mechanic he introduced, Dragon Ball stealing. His main ability was game changing. If your opponent had Dragon Balls, he could literally take them away and add them to your own rising rush count. If they had 2, he'd take both and gain 2 himself. It was one of the most oppressive abilities in early Legends history. Well, this was just so crazy at the time. If you timed it right, you could literally swing the whole momentum of a match, denying your opponent the rising rush while instantly getting yours. His blue cards also scaled in power the lower his health got, going up to an additional 50% special move damage when under 30% HP, letting him make crazy comebacks from very bad situations. Every time he entered the battlefield, his first unique ability increased the enemy's substitution count by 2, forcing longer lock-ins and preventing quick tagouts. A nightmare for squishy teams. On top of that, his second unique made him gradually heal whenever he entered the battlefield, giving him extra sustain for longer fights. He also came with a poison effect on his strike cards, letting him slowly chip away at your opponent's HP over time. Combined with his Dragon Ball control and the fact that his Z ability boosted the regen tag, yeah, the regen team was now an actual viable team now. As for the banner itself, it honestly wasn't really a must summon. Like, if you were missing a lot of Sparkins, it was, I guess, a good deal, since it guaranteed at least 2 new Sparkin units after completing like all of the steps. But if you were mainly pulling for Demon King Piccolo, the odds weren't really that great, as the banner was filled with old Sparkin units, so the chances of you pulling one of the new units were actually lower than in a regular Ultra Space Time banner, at least as far as I remember. Alongside this banner, Legends also gave out 500 free chrono crystals in a ticket for the 5th Ultra Space Time banner as compensation for the extended maintenance, which was actually pretty decent. The update also added the second part of the 5th book of the story mode, which gave a good amount of blue and purple souls, which was actually pretty decent if you were still working on leveling up your characters past the level 1500. The patch also fixed some bugs with the skip tickets and energy restoration not displaying correctly, and improved the equipment slot visuals. Nothing crazy, but it made the game smoother overall. A few days later, Legends dropped an official statement about sidestep and dash step. For context, sidestepping was an advanced technique that allowed you to cancel the short immobility that came after using a strike or blast card by quickly swiping or boost dashing, and when chained correctly, you could infinitely extend combos while regenerating ki and drawing new cards. But on October 12, the developers finally addressed it. They explained that while these mechanics were intentional, they eventually gave players too much of an advantage, and they officially confirmed that adjustments were coming in a future update, and that the team had made the decision after observing the impact it had on PvP and how they'll have to design future units. So yeah, they basically admitted that sidestepping wasn't an exploit, and actually a built-in mechanic, but one that ended up being just too good when used properly. And if you were playing back then, you just know how big that was. Like, sidestepping was a major part of PvP. Every top player relied on it to extend combos, outplay vanishing steps. It was actually what made the game skill-based in the first place. This might be like a little bit of a stretch, but I'm pretty sure people were only watching the top players because of their ability to like use that quote-unquote mechanic efficiently. So when Bandai announced that they were planning to adjust it, yeah, you can guess that the community just went wild, bro. Now, we didn't know at the time if they were going to remove it completely, but people speculated that the devs were likely going to just tone it down, maybe by reducing key recovery while sidestepping, that the idea wasn't to erase the mechanic, but just to prevent infinite combos that could delete entire teams in one go. Because let's be honest here, like the big issue was that as new characters released with faster key recovery and more card draw speed abilities, yeah, sidestepping was just going to be like too powerful. Combos were already starting to last pretty long. Like most often times than not, whoever landed the first hit like literally won the game. So I guess the devs wanted to like bring back neutral play, making it so that both players had like more chances to turn the fight around. Probably why they started pushing the regen tag and all of those defensive units. Like honestly, this all made sense in theory, but for many players this change felt like the beginning of the end, and that there won't be any more skill expression in PvP. Like you have to understand that this was before the revamp of the dupe system and all of the equipment like VS that came in the future, like the reroll mechanic and all of that. Like back then the biggest difference between Wells and regular players were actually mainly just the units they had. Like the difference in stats wasn't as massive as it is today. So the community genuinely feared that if sidestep was nerfed too hard, matches would become more pay to win. But nothing's new here. Like that's pretty much exactly how the community reacted when they removed double tapping a couple of months prior. So yeah, what a surprise. A couple of days later and we had a new countdown campaign, as a big update was on the horizon. The Logan bonus rewards weren't anything crazy, but still cool to have. That same day the game also received a new PvP season, the 11th Super Space-Time Duel. This one was built around Frost, who finally got some spotlight. Players could farm his Z-power through PvP adventures and limit break him to 7 stars just by grinding rate in matches. The event also dropped a new piece of equipment for blue units, which gave critical, strike attack and extra defense against hybrids when your health dropped below 50% HP. It wasn't amazing overall, but since hybrid Saiyans were dominating the meta back then, it wasn't entirely useless either. Content-wise, the update also added part 2 book 6 of the story mode, giving players 9 new chapters to clear, though only a normal mode. The next day and we got V-Jump leaks. Bro, man do I miss those days, when V-Jump leaks actually had useful information. The scans revealed a ton of new content, starting with the one thing that got everyone hyped, Super Saiyan Shallot. According to the leaks, Shallot would soon be able to transform into a Super Saiyan in battle, and the way to unlock it was tied to something completely new, the friendship system. The idea was that by training and fighting alongside other characters, you'd build up friendship levels. Once your friendship level with a certain unit reached level 2, you could actually teach Shallot that character's special move, meaning his blue card could change depending on who you bonded with. So for example, you could give Shallot Vegeta's Gallic Gun or Goku's Kamehameha, which sounded just so cool at the time. It also looked like the friendship system would let you unlock new accessories and visual upgrades for Shallot, probably hinting that he'll slowly evolve as the story progressed. And you can guess that people immediately started speculating about like his future transformations, like Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan God. Something that people still do, like there are still people waiting for like Shallot's Super Saiyan 4 transformation or like Ultra Instinct or maybe in the future Ultra Ego, who knows. Who knows? But I guess from there the most logical transformation would be like Super Saiyan Blue Evolution or maybe Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, but Shallot wasn't the only highlight. The second page of the leak showed off the next Ultra Spacetime banner, and it featured 3 new Sparking units, Super Saiyan Gotenks, Dabura and Fat Buu. This banner was actually a pretty big deal, as with Gotenks finally being added to the game, it meant the door was now open for Gogeta and Vegito to appear in the future. Some players even predicted at the time that Gogeta could drop as soon as early November. Fast forward a couple of days later and it was finally time for the big update. Not only did it completely change PvP, it also introduced Super Gogeta and Janemba into the game, which was honestly a surprise. Like, we knew Gogeta and Janemba were coming soon, but we didn't think they dropped them in October, so that was, as you would guess, insanely hype. Like, the update itself was pretty big. They completely redesigned the UI, PvP had been rebalanced, and Super Saiyan Shallot was now officially playable. Most players cleared the second part of Book 7, Chapter 11 of the story mode. Shallot gained the ability to transform in battle and could even learn special moves from other characters, just like we explained earlier. But the biggest thing here was the sidestep nerf that had been teased earlier that month. Combo chaining became slower and less rewarding. Key and vanish recovery were drastically reduced, and players could no longer combo infinitely. Like, the days of infinite sidestep combos were officially over. And despite that, and all of the quality of life improvements that update brought, like faster equipment swapping, better team editing, editing and rebalanced EXP rates, obviously the big talk was still about the two new Sparkings, Super Gogeta and Super Janemba. Red Super Gogeta instantly became one of the strongest units in the game. He was a red melee type unit designed to deal heavy damage and scale up as the match went on. He had a very similar kit to Purple Super Saiyan Gohan, meaning the less allies he had, the stronger he became, so once he was the last man standing, his damage was just through the roof. One of his unique abilities gave him up to 40% extra damage when both teammates were down, and he could restore 20% of his health with his main ability while drawing an Ultimate's art card. And bro, that ultimate move hit like a truck and restored 50k on activation. Bro, the damage this was doing was just insane. And it also had a 20% chance to inflict feint, allowing you to stun enemies and extend your combos for massive burst potential. Gogeta's only downside really was that his counter move wasn't as good as Janemba's, as it only worked against strike attacks and couldn't be comboed with afterward, but his pure damage output more than made up for it. Meanwhile, Janemba was labeled as a defensive unit. His stats were incredible for the time. He had the third best HP stat in the game, a top 5 defensive stat, and still in the top 15 in both strike and blast attacks. But Janemba's green card was what really made that guy insane. It acted as a counter against blast attacks and let him immediately follow up with a combo while boosting his strike damage by 20%. His special move also restored half of his vanishing gauge, which was huge in new post sidestep nerf meta, where regaining vanish was now harder than before. So yeah, combined with his regen synergy and tankiness, Janemba just made the regen tag even better. But Gogeta was still seen as the better unit at the time, while Janemba was seen as like the better long-term investment, since his kit would probably age better with the new meta focused on vanish management, or at least so people thought. As for their banner, it was actually pretty good. It featured 4 top tier Sparkings, the new Gogeta and Janemba, as well as Yellow Super Vegeta and Blue Goku, all incredibly strong for the time. So you can guess that players summoned like crazy. The month ended with a new banner and PvP season. The 12th Super Space Time Duel brought back Shallot's exclusive equip, coupled that with his new Super Saiyan transformation, and the guy was actually pretty good. Not like a top tier unit by any means, but definitely runnable in PvP. As for the new banner, like we talked about previously, it introduced Super Saiyan Gotenks, Fat Boo and Dabura. Let's start with Purple Super Saiyan Gotenks. His release finally completed the Super Saiyan color wheel in Legends. He was a purple range type unit, the very first purple Super Saiyan in the game, and his entire design was built around dominating the early game. Right from the start of battle, Gotenks was a monster. His blast attack stat was the highest in the entire game at launch, and his ki recovery speed was ridiculous, especially thanks to his first unique ability, which boosted his ki recovery by 50% every time he entered the battlefield. The only catch was that the buff would disappear once he got hit, meaning he had insane combo potential as long as you didn't get hit. His green cards then directly buffed his next blue card. The first use gave it a 50% damage boost, and the second use boosted it by 100%, while also adding a 70% chance to inflict feint into his next blue card, which was just like, bro, if you were able to like land it on someone, it was just over. Like, that alone made his green card one of the most dangerous green cards in the game, since like one single lucky feint could just win an entire match. Then his ultimate that you could draw through his main ability dealt heavy explode damage and had a 40% chance to paralyze, one of the most annoying status effects in the game. Between paralysis and feint, Gotenks could easily stun lock enemies if RNG was on your side, which made him pretty terrifying to fight against. But that said, he was pretty squishy. Like, his HP was fine, but his defenses were pretty low, and he had no damage reduction or like healing tools to sustain him in longer fights. Like, he was built entirely for the early game, so you had to win early with him, or else you were pretty much cooked in the late game. Still, Gotenks fit perfectly on the Fusion Warriors and Hybrid Saiyan stacks, and when paired with Gogeta, the two formed one of the strongest offensive duos in the entire game at the time. Then came Green Fat Boo, easily the most game-changing unit on the banner, and arguably one of the most impactful defensive characters Legends had ever seen to that point. He was a green defensive type unit, and the first character to let characters once switch in, and that single ability alone completely changed the PvP meta. His unique ability prevented opponents from swapping characters for 5 timer counts whenever he entered the battlefield, and could be activated twice per match. So if you caught a blue unit with Boo's switching in, that character was basically dead. They couldn't escape, and Boo was so tanky. His main ability healed all allies by 20% and removed their attributes downgrades. An extremely strong support ability that made him both a wall and a team healer at the same time. He also had a second unique ability which allowed allowed him to recover 10% of the damage he took after each combo ended, combined with his built-in damage reduction from his green cards. So yeah, that guy was just incredibly hard to kill. Like with Boo's arrival, like the Regent like was officially like a top tier team. Paired with like Demon King Piccolo, Blue Piccolo, Janemba or Perfect Cell, bro, that team had literally everything. Like offense, defense, disruption, sustain, control, like literally everything. And bro, blue units completely vanished from the PvP ladder for weeks because of how oppressive Boo was. Pretty much what happened with Green Bardock. Like the ability to lock at a character was just, bro, this was just so insane at the time. Finally, there was Dabura. He was a blue support type unit, and while his stats weren't built for heavy damage, his utility made him an excellent control character. His first unique ability, Seal one of your opponent's arts card, slots for 10 timer counts every time he entered the battlefield, up to twice per match. His main ability then gave him and his teammates temporary immunity to attribute downgrades, which countered some of the most annoying debuff heavy teams in the game. His special skill, Meditation, restored 30k, gave him 10% damage reduction, and let him slowly build momentum while supporting the team. He even had an anti-hybrid Saint passive, giving him 40% blast damage against hybrid Saiyans, making him a pretty solid counter pick to units like Purple's percent to Gohan. So while Dabura wasn't as good as Gotenks or Fat Boo, he could still look pretty scary in the right hands and with the right setups. Overall, that new banner was pretty solid, but like nothing special or essential. Each character was strong in their own way, but none were enough honestly to be like absolute must summons. Well, except maybe for Fat Boo, but honestly the meta was just evolving so rapidly that it was just a matter of time before that guy got countered. So yeah, even though he was cracked, you were better off saving your Chrono Crystals. But yeah, this is it for today's video. In the next history video, we'll take a look at the first quote-unquote Legends Fest banner, the Black Friday Step Up banner, and Blues percent Bardock's game-breaking arrival. Literally, like this guy's release literally broke the game. But yeah, we'll take a look at all that in the next history video. So take care, peace.